Hi, I'm Melanie the Midwife, and today's report on the research is from my PhD, and we'll be talking about free birth. So about 4 weeks ago, a news story erupted after a woman named Jessie posted her free birth video online, and she was forced to come to her own defense when the haters feasted on the story. So let's start from the beginning. What is a free birth? Well, a free birth is a birth that occurs outside of a hospital that the parents arrange to be intentionally unattended by a registered midwife or medically trained health professional. So essentially, they have no one there who's registered or qualified to provide clinical care. In this social climate, I know everyone's thinking, why would a woman choose to give birth away from a hospital with no one who's there to help her if things go wrong? Isn't birth dangerous? Well, let's have a look how Jessie defended her decision. I'm going to compare her decision-making process to what I found when I researched the decision-making process around free birth in my PhD. So in an interview by Cindy Lever, published in August, Jessie explained that she had a free birth because she felt she had no other option. In my thesis, we discovered that the vast majority of women who choose to free birth come to the decision because they were forced to consider it after finding all other birth options were either inaccessible or unacceptable. This is not a failure of women to make responsible choices. It's a failure of a maternity system that can't offer acceptable birth options. Currently, a lot of the birth options conflict with a lot of women's preferences. Secondly, Jessie said she birthed without the help of a midwife because after searching for a midwife to attend her, she couldn't find one. She said, had we had access to a midwife who could attend a home birth, definitely we would have used one. So in my thesis, most of the women who chose free birth had a preference for a home birth attended by a midwife, but either couldn't find one or couldn't afford it, and so accepted free birth as the next best option when they compared it to attending a hospital. That there are not enough midwives to provide women with home birth options is a failure of the Australian maternity care system. Midwives offering home birth are repressed, hassled and bullied by regulatory bodies to the point where they just give up and move on to other work. These regulatory bodies say that their job is to protect the public. What they don't realise is that they're actually endangering the public by taking away home birth options because it's driving women to free birth when they would really prefer not to. So, regulators, the responsibility for whatever should unfold around free birth in Australia is squarely on you. And it's not just hearsay. I have a PhD and a body of evidence to prove it. Thirdly, Jessie's family history had her mum give birth very quickly, and Jessie felt the same would happen to her. She lives 80 kilometres from the nearest hospital and felt that a roadside birth wouldn't be the best for her or her baby. Turned out her intuition was right, and she experienced a very quick labour and birth, and an unassisted birth in a house is a far better option than unassisted birth in a car on the roadside. So, good call, Jessie. Fourthly, Jessie had wished to avoid the hospital because she was concerned she would be exposed to unnecessary interventions. This is a huge motivator for women choosing a midwife-attended home birth and also for choosing a free birth. The women I interviewed rejected unnecessary intervention because they held the belief that each intervention in birth disrupts the physiological process of their body and therefore increases the risk that something will go wrong during their birth. And this is certainly backed up by evidence and described by the concept of the cascade of intervention, where one intervention leads to the next and makes the next necessary to rectify the disruption caused by the interventions before them. It's a slippery slope of intervention. Once you start, It continues. So, women choose to free birth in part in order to avoid the cascade altogether. I know you're still wondering why a woman would ultimately choose free birth. Well, the answer I discovered in my PhD is hardly surprising. The answer is that women will always choose the birth option that they believe is the best and safest for themselves and their baby. Who would have thought women want the best for themselves and their children? Shocking, I know. The question that really needs asking is, why don't women believe that the hospital is the best and safest place to give birth to their baby? Well, my thesis answered that question too, but that's for another day. So, we shouldn't be asking women why they won't accept the maternity services on offer. We should be asking care providers, why don't you provide a service that women will accept? And this is not a new concept. It's not a new question. The World Health Organization has made this same statement before. It's just a shame. It still needs to be said, isn't it, really? Well, I'm Melanie the Midwife, and if you found this helpful, pass it on. I'm off to put some food out for the trolls. See you next time.